I was hoping we could take us a little bit deeper on the various sources of inspiration for you. Like what gets you excited about being in this business and growing this business? Sounds like you have a heart for service, heart for serving others, and just helping people, get into the right mortgage and the right house, etc. Also, sounds like your family and your faith are really big sources of inspiration. But again, would love to have you dig deeper on all those various components.
Yeah, as far as the business goes, what really gets me excited is when a lot of times it's like something that comes up that like a problem I need to fix. So knowing that the end result is going to make a difference for that client and that consumer. So that would be one thing. Like I do run into that. I had one last week where they were just really needed someone to kind of intervene and take over and get the loan done so that they could get into their home and be able to sell their other home. So just that satisfaction of knowing that I'm really serving. I think we all have that. We all innately want that. Like we all want to serve, even kids. Like they all want to like share, I just think innately it is something that we all want to do. So for me, that's from a, the giving back to a consumer part of it. That's, that definitely gives me a lot of energy. And then also the leadership part. I feel like the leadership part is very challenging, and leadership's not something that you're just born with, in my opinion. It's definitely something that you learn. So yeah, just becoming a better leader, taking responsibility, not blaming, not overreacting to things. Just, as I've gotten further into my business, I've had to deal with more situations, and it kind of forced me to be a better leader than where I started, I feel. And so I am, there are certain situations will come up and I'm kind of like, I know what the right thing to do is. And when I do it, I'm sort of proud of myself, so that actually fills me up too, knowing that I'm handling a situation the right way as a leader, which is so hard, um, but yeah, and like I said, I gave a couple examples, like, the taking responsibility is a big one. I call it jumping on the grenade. It's just like, you got to shield everybody else around you from, the shrapnel. You've got to make sure that you're taking responsibility for your business, and so that's been a big one for me as a business owner. So
Well, and what you're saying around taking responsibility, like, Patrick Lencioni, obviously one of my favorite people in the world, and he wrote his most recent book is called The Motive. And he talks about what you're saying in terms of you're not necessarily born with to be a leader, but like if you want to be a leader, you need to be a responsibility based leader. And that's basically saying servant leadership. Falling on the grenade, what you described, is a great example of that, but just that taking responsibility for doing the hard things that only the leader can do or should do. So it's great. Some of those examples you gave tied perfectly into that concept, that is to be a good leader is to be somebody serving others and taking responsibility and doing the hard things that nobody necessarily wants to do, but the leader has to set the example in doing. So well
yeah,
said.
I think sometimes too, there's, you know, examples that you might see where it's really effective leadership, but it's not still not the right, it's, it's not the right way to lead, right? It's not the right way to serve people. Because there is there's dictatorship type leading. And like, I don't agree with that. Just in general, right? As far as like, because I've worked in environments where it was more like that, and it wasn't as, taking responsibility and servant leadership. So there's certainly different ways to do it that are effective, but I think it's learning, and maybe to some degree it's a personality thing too, but I think learning what leadership is being true to yourself, right? And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think it can be effective in the short term to have that type of a tyrannical, like, like command and control leadership, but it's not sustainable in growing a really dynamic and effective organization that really builds people. It can build loyalty, or not real, it can build like people to do what they need to do, and but I don't think it can build what responsibility servant focused leadership can do in terms of really growing passionate, loyal, dynamic employees who want to grow with the company.
Yeah, I think, with leadership, there is a time and a place for different types of leadership too. So there's different circumstances.
Sure.
And you certainly need to be strong. Like, there's no doubt about it. You need to be strong. You need to be assertive. But yeah, and that's where, it's something that you learn. A lot of it for me, I've learned from actual circumstances. And so, yeah, I think that's that's anything in my life. I feel like I got to learn it the hard way to really learn, but then I really learn it. So it's a good way to learn, just life will teach you. I forgot who said the quote, but it was like, life will teach you everything you need to know as long as you can live long enough. I forgot who said it. It was maybe one of the Beatles or someone, but anyway, I've always remembered that, because I think it's true. You just have to be a good listener. You have to listen to the feedback, and then you need to, shape your behavior around that feedback. So that's what I'm trying to do always,
And this ties into LRG with some of your core values, but it's like truth and love. Like, if as a leader, if we're not meeting that person with both truth, like calling them out on the things that they need to improve on, but at the same time weaving it with love, that they feel like you are out for their good. If you make what you about one or the other as a leader and not both, you will have not as good of an outcome, because it just creates a dynamic where the relationships break down.